Welcome into a Thursday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show here live from the UDL, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet, just like we are every single day. Remember to find the crew online at geauxchevrolet.com. Got a couple of locations here, South Louisiana, one in LaPlace, Louisiana. You can find a brand new car inventory, and then here in Baton Rouge, you can find the used car lot at Go Express Auto Sales. Noah's here, Jack is here, Lloyd is here. On this Thursday morning, we'll get you set up for LSU, Kentucky. Makin Money is going to come by with some NFL picks coming up here in the second hour. Nice NFL game tonight, Rams and Seahawks.
Sneaky.
That is a nice
2-point spread makes me leery.
2 points.
Seattle?
See, that's the reaction.
Seattle?
Is it home?
Seattle +2.
Seattle at home?
I think so.
Is Carson
Seattle's +2 at home?
Mm-hmm. But everybody's high on the Rams. Everybody's with
Give me the
stats
dog.
tab.
Give me the
that's what
home
I'm
dog
thinking.
in that one.
I got to see who's at home.
Give me a Cooper Kupp touchdown.
Do some props.
Okay. All right.
Audio's working.
Chill out.
Yeah. It works. We're live.
Yeah.
Making Money going to be here at 8:30 this morning. We are going to talk to Shea Dixon. Is going to stop by at some point here at the UDL before we get out of here.
At Seattle.
Over the next 2 hours at Seattle, and they're the dog. That feels like free money. That feels like free money.
A lot of people are going to fall in that Rams trap.
Sean McVay.
Chum McVay. Oh.
Hey.
Wrong song.
Got a fishing hole down there. All right, we'll talk about that.
Tease.
Yes. Major League Baseball was fantastic last night. Walk-off win for the Dodgers. Nobody cares about that. Sets up the San Francisco Giants and Dodgers today in the NLDS. Two of the best records in the league will square off. White Sox and Astros, just some of the matchup. Everybody buzzing about last night's radio show with Ed Orgeron over at TJ Ribs, and we'll talk all about that coming up. Before we get there, remember daily, Go Chevrolet drives and powers us. Our phone line compliments of Metropolitan Health Group. That is Charlie Harvey and Jason Ramazan over there at Metropolitan Health Group. Real doctors, real solutions. To get in touch with those guys over there. Our official spice is Papa Earl's. Shout out to Papa Earl, as you can pick up his spice anywhere locally. High Neighbor, Calandro's, Rouse's, any of the spots. Remember, 30% less sodium than the competition. And then True Blue Water, TRUBluewater.com. And our official coffee is brewed down here in South Louisiana. Majestic Coffee, DeliciousSips.com is where you can find it. All right, I was not listening live last night. We were at a little birthday celebration with over at Gino's. Yes, Red Sauce was on time last night. It was good to be around the family, good to be around the crew last night with everybody out there. But about 7:32, my phone started going wild, and I'm like, what is going on? And I mean, it was just kind of like these texts like, wow. Oh man! Holy shit! Oh my God! I was like, so what happened? Like, I had no idea what was going on, and finally, I'm like, I respond to one of them, and somebody's like, "Are you not listening to Orgeron's show?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm here." So I thought maybe we had somebody there, so I start looking on social media. And, people at the table, put your phone down, So I'm like,
I'm working here.
Jesus.
You want to eat hot spaghetti or cold spaghetti?
So I get out in the car to just an avalanche of text messages about Orgeron on his radio show last night. And when I went back and listened to it, luckily we were able to preserve the audio of it.
Shout out Jordy Culotta Show fans. Thank you.
Somebody's slipping the cracks.
That is
Twitter's a great tool when used correctly.
Right. 2021, it's tough to get past everybody. It really is. I mean, in a digital world, it's tough to get past everyone out there if you want to take something back. And I know that the LSU Sports Radio Network was frantically
could not find the dump button fast
couldn't
enough.
go into dump mode fast enough. Last night, as being a part of that production at times, Lloyd's been a part of it as well.
That's worst case scenario.
That is absolute just code red. I mean, that is sound all the sirens, sound the alarms. We are melting on the air. I thought Chris Blair handled. We have the full audio, don't we?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's play it.
I mean, whoever puts on the board, just go to ZipRecruiter, go to LinkedIn.
Man.
It's tough.
Just put
All right,
water
here we go.
on the computer.
Your familiar name, I know. What's up? Yeah. Happy birthday, baby. Where you at? All right.
Now she is a little blonde-headed girl, so try not to have sex with her and put it on.
Come on, man. Oh, come on, man.
Really? Wow.
Come on, man.
All right. Let's talk about Kentucky, Coach. Mark Stoops, he's been...
Hey, let me say something right there. You know, down in the bayou, we got a nice little fishing hole for people like that.
Let's get back to football.
My favorite is Panamsky and the crew in the back, like,
Hell yeah!
tell them where you dumped the bodies.
It's the Bobby Boucher. Cut his freaking head off. The one guy. Get out. Okay.
Let's get back to football. I
Anybody?
mean, poor Chris Blair. Could you imagine?
Let's get back to football. Let's get back to football.
I mean, could you imagine just how tight and puckered he was sitting in that chair thinking, well, how am I going to transition out of this? I mean, O's telling this guy he wants to murder him on live radio. I mean, by the way, whoever J-Boy is, just a perfect prank call. I mean,
He didn't
set
stumble
him
at all.
up. They never stumbled.
Never stumbled.
It was almost like the pause and the delay when they went to him initially. Like, do we have J-Boy? And there was like an 8-second silence. It was almost like he was kind of like getting prepared. Like,
Yeah.
here we go, baby. I am live.
It's my
You know
time
what I
to
mean?
shine.
Here we go.
And then whenever Coach asked him what his sister's name was,
Yes.
he sat there for like 2-3 seconds.
Yeah, and he was like,
And then he came up with it.
Baby.
I know, baby.
I know that name.
Yeah. I mean, just had him buttered up. He was just chest going up. I know that name. Where is she?
at?
Where's she at? Where is she? Well, easy, Coach. Easy. she's a 20-year-old blonde. And I mean, just... Can you imagine back in Master Control
No.
when that came across the air of him asking her not to have sex with the girl, and I mean just how oh my God, just
You hit
just
every button.
every
You
button.
like,
I'm surprised they didn't disconnect the whole show.
Yeah, just tip it over.
I mean, run out the door. I didn't hear it. What happened?
I
I was in the parking lot.
1 second to take a shit. Oh, you shouldn't have because you're fired.
I mean, it was just even everything after. I mean,
He's downstairs
And
at the vending
look,
machine.
at this point, the jokes write themselves on Ed Orgeron, and I'm not here to pile on. I'm not here to tell you, told you so. I'm not here to do any of that because it's just too easy. It really is. I mean, that is another in a long list of examples of how unqualified he is for this role. I mean, in that instance, that was very much another scenario, a lot like he was presented in Pasadena when he was walking in the game and, you know, there's an opposing fan taunting him, and he's got a choice. He's got a choice as the LSU head football coach to understand the weight and the scope of his position and respect everything that goes into the day-to-day functionality of being in that title and in that chair. But he chose to go back at that fan and threaten to kick his ass because of the color of his shirt. Last night, again, he has a choice in sitting there representing LSU, representing the state of Louisiana, representing the LSU football team, the brand, everything, his name. And in that role, you have to have a basic understanding that you are going to be taunted. You are going to be mocked. You're going to be bullied to a degree of people think that they can tell you stuff and they have this facade of he's never going to react. She's never going to react. The athletes, the coaches, we've seen it boil over in the NBA at times. And when it does, it's a huge story. But in college football, this happens to these characters everywhere they go, outside of a handful of them. Every week, football coaches are dealing with call-in radio shows and psycho fans feeling like they can tell the coach what they think. And rarely do you ever see the coach in that position engage back with the caller, the fan, etc.? Every single time, O bites. Every single time you needle him. Every single time you dangle the carrot out there, he's going. And he's going for it. Didn't last night give a lot of evidence or a lot of affirmative to the story that we heard about the fishing camp?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even just a small comment like that, my first reaction was, wow, sounds like that story down in Fishin was pretty real. I mean, even if he's not driving them to fishing holes where they dump bodies, you know what I mean? Like, as the LSU head football coach, you have a choice. And every single time Orgeron chooses to disrespect the public relations that goes into the job. I mean, I know last night was that was Bush League. That was a prank call. That's college football. That's what it is. When your team is struggling and you have the visuals that you provided to your fan base last week on your sideline where it just looked chaotic, odds are when you put yourself out into the public where people can access you, people are going to mock you. And you have to understand that. And you have to be bigger than that. But every single time, Orgeron shows really who he is. That's ultimately who Ed Orgeron is. He's the tough guy. He wants you to think that he's going to beat you up. He wants to fight you if you disrespect him. He wants to act like a 20-year-old. I mean, really. I mean, doesn't everything that you hear, everything that we have learned, everything that we know now of Ed Orgeron and the PR off the field stuff feels very just juvenile. Steadily chasing women, letting them take pictures of him in bed and put those out there. Walking around downtown Los Angeles with a girl before the day of the game. Going back and forth with fans. I mean, it feels very frat. You know, it feels very college kid. Like, bro, grow up. Understand where you are and what you represent and the job you're holding. You're so much bigger than all of this. Rise above it. But he just can't do it. He just can't do it. And it's almost unfair at this point to even expect anything else. I mean, I texted Panamsky this morning. It's over. It's over.
You think the board op was in trouble?
You know what I
That guy
mean?
slept last night.
Like,
On Tiger droppings.
that is a joke what you and Ed Orgeron have done to the LSU football program. It truly is. I mean, it is a walking, talking meme. It's a walking, talking joke. The punchlines write themselves now on LSU football. And the head coach is the one that gives the best content.
It's like an SNL skit.
It really is. It feels like a walking SNL skit. Every single week, there is going to be some type of blunder that you can point and laugh at from a public standpoint and just say, they're really doing this. They're really handling it like this. They really blew 4 timeouts on national television in the 5th game of the season because they couldn't get the play in on time. The coach really did threaten to murder a caller on his call-in radio show on a Wednesday night following that game. I mean, that stuff's happened. That stuff, that's real. You know what I mean? Like, and if we're still debating behind closed doors what Scott Woodward thinks of the way that Orgeron represents this position, then I would tell you that you're lost on this. I mean, he is now moving into a scenario where we talked about it yesterday. I was speculating on Steve Ensminger's presence really being ratcheted up because if they had to make an in-season move, I really thought that Ensminger would probably be the guy that they could look at and say, hey, look, we trust you the most to just park this thing as safe as possible in the offseason and let us figure it out. Is there a scenario where it feels like he finishes the season? I mean, for as bad as it could get on the field, and it, could possibly get really bad, I mean, how much really worse can it get off the field? I mean, just when you think it can't get any worse, he threatens to kill a caller on the radio show.
Live.
You know what I mean? Like, and has a real opportunity to rise above. Chris Blair is sitting there almost like kind of helping him paddle out of the bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, look, I'm going to help you out of here. Get on my back. I'm going to get it back to football for us. Just ride with me. And he, at that point, says, no, you know what? Let me get back to that real quick.
He was drowning, and Chris Blair threw him a life vest and went underwater and took a big breath. He was like, no, I'd rather drown. Like, I don't need any help. But isn't this the image he wants to put out of himself? The machismo, tough guy. Like, he relished in that opportunity. And I feel like, honest to God, I don't think he thinks he did anything wrong. Like, somebody's going to have to tell him, like, you can't do that. And he's like, well, I'm not going to get here and be threatened. I'm not going to be, people are going to make fun of me on my show. Like, he doesn't know what, he doesn't know that you can't do that. And it's just been a consistent of, it's like a dog that's not potty trained. Like, dude, you can't do that. You can't shit in the house. Stop shitting in the house. And he keeps doing it. And wagging his tail at you.
Yeah, it is, like I said, I mean, just when you believe that it can't get any worse, it gets, I mean, just.
Can this get worse?
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't think it could get any worse from where they've been. You know what I mean? But they
found a way to top that.
They tee it up. They tee it up and play on Saturday.
They have to.
You know, like who knows what happens on Saturday?
I mean, if I go to Kentucky, I'm making a fishing hole sign and showing them.
I'm going in full fishing. I'm bringing a Piro out there. There's going to be a boat in the stands.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they have become a walking meme where you're going to see this stuff on signs behind College Game Day, wherever things are, publicly you can bait LSU. It's going to be all of the things that the coach has allowed to happen. I mean, it's going to be really the joke on him. It's not going to be more on the program, but, as a leader of that program, if you're in a position of a executive role, you have to look at it and say, now, I mean, everything this guy does and says is a reflection of the program. And now, I mean, it's just melting the brand. It is melting LSU football because it's become a joke because of the leadership. You know what I mean? Like, just when you think you are updating your story on Ed Orgeron and getting, down to the latest thing that happened, he gives you more. He gives you more. I mean, people are still talking about the game on Saturday. Well, now flip the page. He's threatening to kill his own fan base, members of his own fan base.
At least we're not talking about timeouts now.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a plan. And he's like, I can get us off the football thing. Let's go to, this is what I usually do. This is my go-to move here.
I will kill you.
People will talk about me instead of the football team. Maybe he's dying on the sword.
Put it on him.
So
he's putting it on him, that's for sure.
Put it on me.
Yeah. Every single time, man. Every single time you believe that it can't get any worse, it produces, and it is marketably just astonishing how unprepared or just inept he is ready for this position. I mean, like Lloyd said, I mean, he really thought he was doing the right thing. I mean, play the clip. I mean, listen to him after. It's very similar to him walking in, when Jacques caught him walking in to the Rose Bowl, and after he threatens to beat the guy up for the sissy blue shirt, I mean, he's like, like huffing into it, like kind of like I showed him. Like, good God, man, you really think that you handled that correctly? Like, I mean, are you 25 years old?
Not even 25, dude. This is like 18-year-old behavior.
This is high school.
This is high school.
Flat boy.
And then last night after the call, when he tells him that there's a fishing hole down the bayou that he can place him in, he's like grunt, like grunting into the.
Sounds like the Joker.
That sounds like a mass murderer. You know what I mean? Listen to Panamsky in the background.
A smattering of applause. Are we going to see this live or what? Are we going to murder?
I mean, Yeah, right. I mean, he'll do it.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Camera for this.
yeah, clearly he has a spot.
so, like I said, man, it's easy to pile on, and I really don't want to jump on because it's so simple. And I mean, it's really sad at this point because, I mean, when you think of the locker room, when you think of the players, when you think of, I mean, preparation this week for Kentucky, I mean, how many questions are these guys going to have to answer about their head coach? How much do they see the behavior of their head coach and just steadily lose all respect and lose any type of ability to be led by this guy? I mean, the residual effect of the blunders in PR really have an everlasting effect on the ultimate team. I mean, when you watched LSU play last Saturday, I think that the majority opinion was that, man on man, player on player, LSU was better. Now, I'm not here to argue because the scoreboard said differently and Auburn won the game that Saturday. But I mean, if you were drafting a team, you'd probably draft more players off of LSU than you would off of Auburn. Mm-hmm. And the way that they lose was that their coach wasn't ready. They couldn't get a play in. They burned timeouts. They don't have an ability to get the ball in the back at the game and win. They don't find Keyshawn Butte. They don't play Corey Kiner. You've yet to see Sage Ryan. I mean, you wonder where are the best players? Why aren't the best players playing? The coach doesn't seem prepared to play on Wednesday night during game week on his call-in radio show. He's threatening to kill people. This is a week after you clumsily stumbled through a SEC home opener. And now you go into a hostile environment where Kentucky is really kind of set up to be a letdown. I mean, Kentucky, in my opinion, is open for the taking this weekend. I mean, if you've watched a lot of the feedback after that Florida game, they're still celebrating today. Right now, they're still celebrating that Florida win. They put out like a 6.5-minute video off of their football account yesterday, recounting last week and how special of a day it was for Kentucky football. If I'm looking at that from LSU's standpoint, I mean, I'm foaming at the mouth to get to Lexington, knowing that they're hungover. They're beatable. But I wonder and very much doubt the plan that Ed Orgeron is getting out of his assistant coaches this week, because they're dealing with so much other bullshit that he has brought onto the program. Whether it's insecurity of job or just the joke that LSU has. You don't think that these coaches are getting text messages from other coaches in the community being like, what is your boy doing? How are y'all losing? What was happening with those timeouts? Did he really threaten to kill somebody on his radio? I mean, all of this stuff is circulating around the coaching community. All of these guys are, I mean, we brought up, it's like a fraternity. Mm-hmm. I mean, they all still talk. They all still communicate. Even if you're game planning for Kentucky this week, there's probably 2 LSU coaches that have been on staff with 3 Kentucky guys that they still text message back and forth. Their wives still talk. They're still friends, acquaintances, former co-workers. And they're dealing with that stuff. They're looking at LSU. I'm telling you, the coaches that we have relationships with, and we have relationships with coaches around the SEC, different schools all over, that they are looking at LSU and the way that they are undercutting them in recruiting right now, and the message that they are selling is being bought. And it's just about how dysfunctional LSU is. And it's not as if you have to have inside information. Just turn on the radio show on Wednesday night. You don't have to go far. Turn on the radio show on Wednesday night. If you didn't catch it there, turn on the game last Saturday. If you didn't get that, go to the opener of the season. I mean, this stuff has been. If you didn't catch it there, go to 2020. Go to the off season. There's just it's all the time. It's every day.
It's a 24/7 news cycle. Like, it's either off the field or on the field, and none of it's good.
It's sad. It really is the downfall and the spiral that has happened to this program since being so firmly planted on top of the mountain in 2019. How just good and much of a head start you had on the rest of the competition to really take that success and grow off of it. And what has happened since then has been nothing but just ego and bad decisions and terrible PR and just breaking down a multi-million-dollar business.
Hottest brand at the time.
Just a corporation and business that was running 100 miles an hour and steamrolling downhill over the competition, and has just become broke down. In 2 years, it is a broken ship. It's rudderless. It feels like it is headed in the wrong direction and just gutted almost.
It's not going any direction except down. Like, this thing is rudderless. It's, yes, I mean, who's playing the violin on this thing? Like, what's the point? Like, this ship is sunk, dude. Like, if your captain's going down with the ship, you got 2 of them out there that still think it's fine.
Plenty of
Like, we're not
lifeboats.
sinking.
Daily, we are brought to you by Cajun Ready Mix Concrete. Remember, Cajun Ready Mix provides ready mix concrete products and services to meet all of your concrete needs. That's for residential, commercial, industrial, municipal. Online at CajunRMC.com. CajunRMC.com. They strive to be the premier provider of quality concrete. They have deliveries that will be completed on time to the exact specifications. They have 9 plants around the greater Baton Rouge area. That's how they can promise you that it'll be on time and to the exact specifications. Find out how they work. They got high-quality products, grade A equipment, clear safety standards. CajunReadyMix.com. CajunRMC.com is where you find them online as we continue to roll in. And we appreciate all the support out there as we see this morning that there are a ton of you watching, and we appreciate it if you could just hit that like button for us, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube, JordyCulottaShow.com. We appreciate that very much. If you could hit that like, share, comment button, comment on the post, that really helps us out. We appreciate you being here, but if you could just help us out real quick and click that thumbs up, you can click the thumbs down. Just the interaction really helps us out. So if you don't mind liking and sharing and comment on the post, please do that right now. Craig Polks asked if we could play the full audio once again from last night's Ed Orgeron call-in show. This is on the LSU Sports Radio Network last night for when Ed Orgeron took a call from J-Boy.
A familiar name, I know. What's up?
Yeah.
Happy birthday, baby. Where you at? All
Yeah,
right.
now she is a little blonde-headed girl, so try not to have sex with her and put it on.
Come on, man. Oh, come on, man.
Really? Wow.
Come on, man.
All right. Let's talk about Kentucky, Coach. Mark Stoops, he's been...
Hey, let me say something right there. You know, down the bayou, we got a nice little fishing hole for people like that.
One class.
Let's get back to football.
Let's bring this back thing on
Let's
the
get back
rails.
to football.
Poor Chris Blair, man. I mean, that's a hell of a spot, man. That is a hell of a spot to be in, where every single thing around you is on fire.
He's the dog.
People are just
I'm fine.
hauling ass, fleeing away from the scene, and you've got to stay entrenched and playing, a positive message. They are, Chris Blair is the lead violinist on the Titanic.
Right,
You know what
that's
I mean?
him. Yeah,
I mean, he is
first chair.
just keep playing.
Y'all
Keep
go to the life
playing.
rafts. I'm fine over here.
Yeah, I mean, just keep
How did I
playing.
get this job? Didn't you feel bad for 1 second though? Come on, man! Like, he doesn't want to tell, he
Yes.
was right there when he had sympathy in his corner. Where everybody's like, "Oh, that was so what a cheap trick," and then he's like,
Then he ruined it.
"Actually, I'm pissed." Like, never mind, hold on. Like, it took him a second to get wait,
He had to come up with it.
right?
He had to come up with the comeback.
But he could have just stewed in that and been like, "Oh man, yeah, that was bullshit. That was bush league."
Yeah.
And instead, he turns it on its
That's what
ear.
any other coach would do. Just
Right.
take it, say, "Oh, you didn't have to do that."
And you know how
then-
much he has been told and urged and pleaded with from the administration and his bosses to say, when you're presented an opportunity like this next time, be the bigger guy. Be the LSU head football coach. Please. Please stop making the program and this place a friggin' joke, man.
Or about yourself.
You are just, you don't get it. When you threaten to fight people before a game, do you know how minor league that looks for everybody involved? Mostly you, but LSU catches the biggest residual effect of it because you got us painted all over your body. You got LSU shirt on, pin on, hat on. Everything about you is recognized and branded with LSU. So when you threaten to kill somebody on your weekly call-in show at an establishment that's paying a lot of money to get you out there and bring everybody together, that's not going to work, man. That's just, you really have to explain this. But at this point, the one doing the explaining is really, that's who the joke is on. It's just, it's never going to change. It's never going to improve. It'll never be understood. It'll never be accepted to what it entails and really what it takes to handle this job. And what he is failing at is at a basic elementary level. I mean, it's such and really what it does for O long term. And I don't know if he'll want to get back into coaching. He's made a lot of money at LSU, made a lot of money. And I don't know what's going to happen with when it comes down to the termination of what the buyout's going to look like, because you got to believe, and with the people that we spoke to behind the scenes, and a lot of people out there are getting information, but I mean LSU is obviously trying to find a way to poke as many holes in that buyout as possible, so they're off the hook or on the hook for as least amount of money as possible on the buyout. So I mean, many believe behind the scenes that Scott Woodward and Stephanie Rimpf and Verge Alsbury and the staff have just been building a pile of evidence, so when this conversation takes place, that they can say, look, here's what we can go with. So we're going to pay you X amount rather than the $17 million that you're owed. You want to take this one-time check and just appreciate what you've done and walk away, or you want to fight this thing and try to make it uglier than it already has become. And with the amount of money that O's got in the bank right now, and some type of buyout number that's respectable on both sides, I don't know what that number could be. I would say somewhere between the $5 to $7 million range is what probably LSU is hoping to get to, compared to the 17 that's on the books right now. Would be the best case scenario for this playing out as it sits right now, because this thing is unrecoverable. Outside of doing something heroic, incredible, a story that a movie would be made out of. I mean,
and you wouldn't believe.
The first week of October, the head coach was threatening to kill callers on the air. By the end of the season, they were in the college football championship.
And they did go fishing
I
together.
mean, it would be just Hollywood's best script, right? They'd gone into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. They'd beat Arkansas. They'd be at home and beat Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. They come home to an 11 a.m. crowdless game and win at home after they've upset Kentucky on the road. I mean, it would be a just monumental story if they pulled it off. But, I mean, you got to be real behind the scenes and think that this thing's sunk. This thing's cooked. So what's going to be next? And, from Orgeron's standpoint, like I said, I mean, I don't know if he wants to coach again. I don't know if he wants to ultimately try to make a run and be. I mean, what would be the ladder of head coaching that Orgeron would find interest in after this? Somebody trying to sell tickets on a Division II level? I mean, some Conference USA team that's at the bottom of the pack looking to make a splash? I mean, no SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12 type school, Big 5 is really going to look at Orgeron seriously and think that this is the guy that can bail us out and get us right. And I don't know if he's lost credibility on the recruiting trail to where he doesn't want to hold that position, or maybe that position is beneath him now because he feels like he's been at a head coaching spot and earned so much money that he can't go backwards. And hopefully he's invested well and has money tucked away and he can maybe ride off into the sunset. But all this stuff that's happening right now on his football resume is really only validating what ultimately the majority of the coaching community thought about Orgeron, was that all LSU was doing was hiring the same guy that they got, or the same guy that Ole Miss had hired a decade before. A rah-rah, beat-your-chest guy threatening to fight the team. I mean, the first meeting that Orgeron had with his Ole Miss team, he closes the door, rips his shirt off, and threatens to beat up the baddest dude in the room. What's changed from that guy in the opening meeting of his Ole Miss tenure to his 5th season as LSU's head coach in a week where he's losing and a fan calls in and pranks him and taunts him and he goes back at him threatening to kill him? I mean, really, what's changed? It's the same person. It's ultimately what the majority was saying that LSU was getting when they hired Orgeron. And for Orgeron's standpoint, it's really who he is. So he can't take that song and dance to his next employer and say, I'm a changed man. I took my time at Ole Miss and I learned from it. I know I got to do X, Y, and Z to be better at it. Well, that's what you told the people at LSU. That's what you promised the fan base. That's what you told Joe Oliva. That's what you said you were going to be when you led that program, and it wasn't any different. Why should we believe you now? Those are the types of questions and conversations he's going to have at his next stop. If there is one. I don't know if there will be one. But last night's antics, to me, has to start becoming really the icing on the cake. This has got to just be the shine on top of the truckload of evidence that you now have on Orgeron, on just his incompatibilities of handling this job. I mean, I have to imagine that LSU officials last night, first off, they pulled the video and the audio from the CST show that usually replays the Coach Ed Orgeron show. So that tells you right there that they're embarrassed by the moment. But I also think that they probably told whoever was running that show to get them a copy of that audio because they need to put it into a pile of evidence to now put forth into, Coach O's
binder
conversation.
The binder.
And say, and oh, by the way, on October 6th, when you threaten to kill somebody publicly, and right here in your contract, it states that that's a clear violation of that agreement. That's where I believe.
And if you're on that side of it, that's the sad thing is you have to flip multiple pages to get to this. You're like, oh wait, hold on, let me find October 6th because there's so many things that happened before
Two things
that.
at the UCLA game.
Yeah, there's so many acts where you were like, well, we should probably stow this one away because this isn't a good look. And there's so many just reoccurring actions. And isn't the silence of Scott Woodward and the LSU administration like deafening? Doesn't that mean something? Like, is he going to have to come out and apologize? What do you even do? Like, do you send him back to the microphone?
It's a good question because I don't know if LSU feels like at this point like they should make a statement. I mean, anytime if you're a business owner,
if a player did this,
exactly. Well, just think about if you're a restaurateur, if you're a business owner and one of your employees even though it was probably a little sketchy situation, and the customer was clearly wrong, and your employer threatened to kill that customer. Well, you got to handle that. You know what I mean? Like, you got to put out a statement and say, look, this isn't how we handle conflict here. Please be sure that if you ever come back here, we will have this taken care of, and you will never be threatened of your life again. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that LSU's probably behind closed doors saying, do we issue a statement saying the words and thoughts of the LSU head football coach does not portray this university with the fan base. One bad apple of a caller shouldn't bring out those types of thoughts from the coach. We appreciate your support, whatever it may be. It's a business.
Retweets don't equal endorsements.
I'm not saying that this is the stance, but it's a business, and LSU football is not run like a business. It's run like there is a teenager directing it. And I don't know. I wonder what the repercussions of that will be, but it probably won't be anything. I mean, it probably, to me, Scott Woodward has handed Ed Orgeron the rope. You know what I mean? And just said, put this around your neck, man.
If you want.
And just do with it what you will. And all Orgeron has done
He thinks it's a necktie.
Yeah, I mean, has just tightened the noose. I mean, just tightened it. He's just tightened it up around him.
Yeah, nice tie.
And he continues to just build a case against himself.
But that's why I think Scott Woodward being silent on this, at least to this point, is what. If you're wondering what's going to happen, I think that answers all your questions. If it was somebody that was leading a 5-0 team and they had come off a back-to-back 10-win seasons, and this happens, I feel like they would get in front of it rather quickly to defend him. And instead, they're just sitting back and letting it all play out, which is a very interesting move and very telling of what they think that they need to do in terms of keeping Ed Orgeron's job safe or keeping him in a good public light, because I don't think they know that it's cooked after this. Like, that's how it plays out in my mind. Because wouldn't you rush to defend him if you thought you wanted to keep him on staff?
Sure.
But they're not doing anything.
No, they are just allowing him to boil himself. They really are. I mean, and to a degree, I believe that probably behind closed doors, they feel helpless. They feel like,
renegade.
What else can we tell him? What else can you say to him? How many more examples can we give the guy that you are costing yourself an opportunity that you swore was the job of a lifetime for you? And you can't get out of your own way. You can't understand just the basic elements of respecting the public relations of the job. I mean, for instance, and I don't want to get back into it, but just this is a small example. Ed Orgeron, in his contract, has access to the private jet at LSU, like, I think it's like 8 to 10 days a year. So like in the middle of July when it's totally dead, nobody's recruiting, nobody has anything to do with the private air at LSU. The LSU head football coach in his contract can say, I want to go to Costa Rica for a day and go get behind a 20-foot wall at this palatial estate down in Costa Rica, and I want to go be
just
who
sin.
I am.
Go sweat.
Go
Sin.
be who I am. You know what I mean? Just, exactly. I want to go be exactly who I am that nobody knows about. Not the real people know about. He could do that, but he chooses on Memorial Day weekend to go to the Roosevelt Pool in downtown New Orleans with the flavor of the week, where pictures are being taken, stuff pops out, and people are just wondering. And his bosses are like, bro, you got a pool at your house first. You've got opportunity and a bank account that you can go do this stuff wherever in the world you want. In fact, you don't even have to pay for the airfare for it if you want to do it. You could just hop on your own private jet and fly wherever you want and go post up
Mile High
anywhere in the world. You can do all that. You can be as freaky as you want to be.
Right.
As freaky as you want to be. Which, by the way, the majority of them are. You just don't know it. You know what I mean?
They got their private jet.
You know what I mean? We know O's a freak.
The fraternity's mad at
You know
Urban
what
Meyer,
I mean?
too.
I mean, even last night when the guy was
what
like,
we doing.
she's in the crowd, he's like, well, where is she? You know what I mean?
Your familiar name I know. What's up? Happy birthday, baby. Where you at?
It's just, like, it just, and he chooses to go sit in the middle of downtown New Orleans when everybody's like, is that you know what I mean? Like, how many pictures did people get? I know I got 5 from people that were there saying, I mean, Coach O's here, just like bacon
Cool.
with Crisco. They're like got some
Sizzling.
chick sitting next to him. That
Flip him over, he's done.
it's just, it's amazing, man. It really is to see the downward spiral that the program and the trajectory has been on.
You see how fast it happens. Look at Florida State.
Oh, it's a cautionary tale.
That's what I'm saying.
LSU is a cautionary tale for programs around the country of the fall from success and how fast it can happen. I mean, it's been a blink of an eye because, I mean, people wanted to discount last year because of a national championship hangover and a lot of the stuff that the program was dealing with. But now hasn't it become evident that
That's who the team is.
well, the leadership was squarely probably behind all of the discontent. I mean, the inability for them to be led, the inability for them to be really, have anything to believe in is clearly a sign from the top.
I kind of saw it last year during COVID. I mean, now hindsight's 2020, but writing on the wall, it was COVID. There was 2 outbreaks, and it was like after games getting blown out, like the team would try and come to like parties on LSU. What are you guys doing? Like, you don't care? Like, what if there's another COVID outbreak? There's just no leadership. It's just a circus over there.
It absolutely is, and you wonder. And like I said, I think Kentucky, I really do. I think they are set up. I mean, 2 months ago we were talking about how this is a trap game for LSU. This is really kind of a trap game for Kentucky. Yeah. I mean, it really is. If you're kind of paying attention to Kentucky, they are very vulnerable this week. I mean, they're without one of their best defensive tackles.
Yeah.
One of their top defenders is going to be out this weekend, and Marquand McCall is the guy who had a really good week last week. He's around walking on crutches and a boot this week. Like I said, I mean, even the social media from Kentucky football yesterday is still celebrating the win over Florida last week. That was the first time that they had beat Florida in 16 tries at home. I mean, it was a mountain that they had overcome. I mean, they had gotten over one of the demons of the program. They had exercised those demons at Kentucky football of beating Florida at home. It was a very much something that they accomplished. It was a big accomplishment last weekend. So, LSU kind of comes in this week kind of broken and battered and trying to get up off of the mat with a really talented football team. Even behind closed doors, as vulnerable as LSU looks in the public, Kentucky coaches are still probably saying, fellas, we better be ready for their speed. We better be ready for their wide receivers. We better be ready for their passing game. Their defense has really played well over the past couple of weeks. We better be ready to play. But they seem like they're vulnerable this week, where LSU could walk in there and take one. But, you got more PR stuff you got to clean up for LSU standpoint with the head coach. So I don't know where LSU's headspace is going into the matchup, but it really feels like
it was right for LSU to a get-right game.
It
like
does.
You said,
Like you could.
It totally flipped the script of
You
what we
could.
thought before the preseason.
Did you hear in the SEC teleconference yesterday? Somebody asked him if he could flip the script.
Sounds familiar. What's that from? Who wrote that?
It was good.
You.
I wrote it.
No. But that's what it like. This was when you take a step back and look at it, like everybody was going to pile on Kentucky and be like, "Oh, they just beat Florida." That's a right for LSU to be able to go in there because man for man, LSU is more talented. Like they're a better, they're a better football team. But when you put all the ancillary factors in, like coaching, which is a big
deal.
factor, that seems to be the thing that's holding them back the most. Which is, if you're a player, that just has to be mind-numbing.
Oh,
where you're like, you're telling.
frustrating.
I mean, look at Max Johnson during the Auburn game. Where he's like, he's about to freak out.
Yeah.
He's like, just give me a play. I don't care if it's quarterback sneak on 3rd and 10. Just give me something so we're not doing this.
Well, I mean,
and then if you could go into Kentucky and get a win, if this thing never happened last night, you go to Kentucky, get a win. At least you feel better about the team.
Sure.
And now, where are we?
It's like you go to Florida.
We're below 0 right now. Like, this is like, are you out of your bleeping mind?
Oh,
like, why would you do this now? Because he doesn't think.
Yeah, he doesn't. And he doesn't understand the ramifications of everything
How do
he
you go
does.
into practice today?
Yeah, exactly. How do you go into a team meeting and say anything? How do you tell your team, really, to control your emotions? How do you tell your team to be smart in adversity? How do you tell your team that when it's crunch time of the game, you can't really accept stupid penalties? You can't be jumping off sides. You can't have delay of games. You can't have things that you really can control. But then how can you preach that message and then all they have to do is open up social media, get one person that had heard it from a friend circle and say, man, you hear what O did tonight?
Is she ran?
Oh, what'd he do? That crazy motherfucker. He's crazy. He crazy.
He's trying to kill
He threatened
people.
to kill somebody on the air.
Tony Soprano.
I mean, like he threatened to kill a caller. Like, he did what? Yeah, like he threatened to kill somebody.
And there's nobody.
And he's telling me if I get a fourth quarter penalty for an unsportsmanlike conduct, that he's going to throw my ass off the team, or he's going to make sure I miss and run and do all this stuff. But yet he can't take a phone call on a live call-in show. I mean, it's just, come on, man. I mean, this is, this has become, like we said last week after the Auburn game, it's become, if you don't laugh at it,
You'll go crazy.
It'll drive you. It'll drive you mad because I mean the amount of money that he's making, the roster that he has, the locker room that he has full of players, and the stuff that they're dealing with is inexplicable. I mean, it's unexplainable, man.
It really does keep piling up. I remember after the John Emery, I'm like, oh, they can't get more of a circus. Little did I know.
It can go south so quickly, man.
Even more.
That's what I was telling him. I mean, just like every time you think it can't get worse, every time you think there's no way
they can't get worse than this.
There's
right now.
no way they can trump this. There's no way that they can make it worse than this.
You're a betting man. It's hard to bet against that though. Something could happen. But doesn't that speak to what LSU football is? Is the fact that you can have three separate coaches win 3 national championships, in a 5-year span for each. Doesn't that mean like the program would be salvageable for somebody that comes in as low as this can get?
LSU is the only program over the last 20 years to have 3 national championship winning coaches. All of those national championship winning coaches won that championship in their 3rd season. LSU is a monster. I mean, I was looking at Jake Crane at J-Boy. Tough
You're gonna have to rebrand.
Tough spot, bro.
You had to go on Twitter and it wasn't me.
Tough spot for J-Boy. And real quick, by the way, we're brought to you by A-Bear Specialty Meats. A-Bear Specialty Meats is located on Highway 73. Remember, if you're tailgating this weekend, get in touch with A-Bears. They are on the Dutchtown Shopping Center. Great selection of boudin, crackling that you can pick up if you're heading out to the game. But also, if you want to cook this weekend and you're having people over for a watch party, got a great selection of steaks, burgers, all of that in the freezer over at A-Bears. A-Bears on Highway 73 out at the Dutchtown Shopping Center, right next to Dutchtown High School. I saw where Jake Crane, J-Boy, was debating yesterday and really kind of breaking down the LSU and USC job, which, USC is open right now. Ultimately, it looks like LSU is going to be open at some point here pretty quick, and was debating, what was a better job. And you would think from the surface level that this is just kind of a clear-cut USC, Los Angeles, the selection of players, the program, the success, everybody that's come through there. But I would actually say it's the other way. Now clearly we're biased, and we're in the market. So, I mean, us saying LSU, looks like we've got purple and gold glasses on. But when you think about the job, the LSU job itself, and just the advantages of being here, it's really, to me, it's a top 3, top 5 job in college football, because anybody who gets here and can get past the political BS, which is tough to navigate. It's really, really hard to do. And I will be the first to say that. I mean, being from here, working around LSU, covering LSU, even working a year at the state legislature as a lobbyist, I mean, you see the amount that LSU is up there on Capitol Hill, at the state capitol. I mean, Scott Woodward probably spends more time at the state capitol than he does in the athletic administration building. And that's just what calls for the job. I mean, I'm not saying that he's not doing it. That's what there's a lot of political BS that you got to get through. And as the LSU head football coach, that comes with it. I mean, can't we argue that the politics of the job swallowed Orgeron up? I mean, he was doing mask protocol statements for the governor, and he was routinely being a guest on Fox News. That was debated a lot within his locker room in the community. That really splintered his followers, his people. What was the politics of it? And as you study that vine as it goes into the ground of those two moves, I mean, it really kind of gets deep and clouded of how it affected his reign here. So anybody that comes in here and can understand, the political maze that you've got to get through to really find out who's with you, who's backing you, who's for the right reasons, and you're able to find the right people to put around it. LSU is a monster, just because the players. You got such access to great players. I mean, you can throw a rock in a 30-mile direction, 50-mile direction, in any way on the compass, leaving LSU football facility and go pick up a 5 or 4 star at a meaningful position. And that in itself makes you a player. Well, you can still do the same thing at USC, but at USC, you're competing with UCLA, you're competing with Cal, you're competing with San Diego State, you're competing with California schools. Louisiana kids with the right leadership in place, when LSU is humming and they're moving at 100 miles an hour and beating everybody, there's really no other choice. If you've got the right person in place to sell the message and show you what the football looks like on Saturdays. I mean, more of these kids, more of these recruits, not kids, more of these guys that are coming up are really being turned off by the football more than anything with that Orgeron right now. I mean, these guys are football players. They deal with drama in their own lives. They got girlfriend issues. They got social issues. They got class issues, school issues. They got all that stuff happening in their life, too. So when they see somebody else dealing with it, they can relate. But when they're looking at Alabama football and they're looking at Georgia football and they're looking at Florida football and it's compared to LSU football, well, the turnoff really is the on-the-field play, coach. You have a real meaningful conversation with Quincy Wiggins right now about where he is in his recruitment. What do you think of these schools? And he's going to tell you how they're playing, what they look like, what's attracting and pulling him to that school. It's apples and oranges.
The environment around the team.
Right. I mean, that's what a lot of these guys base their knowledge of the team on, is their relationships that they have with the players, and the players just telling them about their day-to-day feelings and how they feel about the program and the coach and practice and the training facility, everything. And all of that right now is just being trampled on, stomped on, because you got bad leadership. Bad leadership is hard to overcome. Bad leadership's nearly impossible to overcome when people don't recognize it. Joe Oliva didn't know what bad leadership looked like because he was a bad leader. I believe Scott Woodward, in his leading ability and ultimately trust the move that he will make to bring in the best person suited for LSU. And I believe that Scott Woodward will work hand in hand in helping the next person, whoever that may be, navigate the political minefield that Louisiana can present to the LSU head football coach. Because Scott Woodward is as politically savvy as anybody who's ever been up at LSU in a real position of power. So I think that the next guy in line is the right guy because I believe in Scott Woodward. Didn't he get your trust with Kim Mulkey? If he didn't get your trust with Mulkey, didn't he stamp your trust with Jay Johnson? Can't we look at his history and his background and see that he's not scared to go deep, deep into the waters and hunt big game, big fish?
Fish you've never even heard of.
And if you got to pull out the checkbook to pay him, he kind of reminds me of the Saints. Like you're talking about these financial issues and what's going on, these money problems, but he finds it. He gets it. He gets the money, gets them paid, and gets them working. I mean, even Kim Mulkey, so we have some. I mean, so she was like, I thought I was going to present some hurdles that we just could not overcome, and not all of them financial, more commitments into the future of how this job could expand and how she could make it better, and it was going to take a financial commitment, and that's really what impressed her about Woodward was his ability to see it. He understands it. He knows it. If you get the right person in place, the right leader in place, and they're able to spread the message and get everybody to buy in, this town is going to be tribal about winning. Where they're going to show up 12 hours before kickoff and stay deep into the morning celebrating wins if they have the right person in place. But if you give them an opportunity to open it up to where the leadership is almost like a clown show, well, then they're going to call in on the Wednesday night call-in show, and they're going to troll you. They're going to be after you. They're going to be relentless in the way that they hold you accountable. And that's where LSU is right now in the process, in my opinion. I think that, I don't know how many times I've said it, I think he's cooked. I think that this job, from Ed Orgeron's standpoint, it's done. There's no way the leadership above him can look at him and say, come on, this is not the guy. This is not the guy that LSU can entrust into the future with the SEC expanding by 2 major brands and getting bigger and stronger. With Texas, Oklahoma coming in, and LSU already holds a spot at the table that has some authority and power as far as football goes, the moneymaker. And this guy is killing it. He's killing the brand. He's melting the colors. How is the leadership going to fix this? I believe Scott Woodward understands. I think that Scott Woodward knew the day he signed his contract that sooner rather than later he was going to have to make this choice. And I think that he has been preparing for this decision even before he took the job. Because Woody always wanted to come home. Scott Woodward always wanted to come back to Baton Rouge. LSU was a place that he had worked at, understood, and he is a lifelong Louisianian who loves his roots and loves his city and loves his town and loves his community and LSU and understands that the LSU head football coach, when right. Remember, Scott Woodward's first job and position at LSU was back in 2000 through 2004. We all know who was the leader of the football program then. It was Nick Saban. Those guys still keep in touch, but ultimately Woodward saw, man, when that seat is filled by the right guy, and he understands how to recruit it, how to coach it, how to politically navigate it, this thing could be a monster. A monster. Chewing up and spitting out championships. So he's always in the back of his head understood that if I ever get back to LSU, I got to make sure and get that football job right. Because it just means too much to everything that they want to do from not only an athletic standpoint, but from a university standpoint. So I trust Scott Woodward, man.
Don't you think the hire has there's obviously a lot of pressure on it already, but like you mentioned, with Texas and Oklahoma coming in, and with name, image, and likeness just sparking an absolute revolution of where people will probably end up picking their schools, don't you think that puts that much more pressure on LSU to get this thing right? Because they've been able to win almost in spite of their head coaches. When you look at Les Miles and now with the tail of the tape on Orgeron, like it seems like if he can just get
those two
that's what I'm saying. The amount of talent that's in the state, you should be a little concerned about them losing it to Texas and Oklahoma, or not being able to pull it from Texas, or because once you get name, image, and likeness, and Texas is trending in the right direction, they join the SEC. You kind of lose your ace card of what conference you can play in. So if I'm Woodward, don't you look for somebody that is, you see somebody stable that can kind of hold the ship and recruit this thing, and has just not a fool. Like somebody that won't get in their own way the way that it's happened the past 2 years, where the amount of ego that's been in the room has almost been a detriment to the entire culture and team around LSU football. Like, if you get somebody that has some sort of specialty, a little bit of prowess in some side of the football, and is just can not get in their own way, like this thing is a firecracker that's set to ignite itself.
It like I said, it's a monster. It's a when Saban found it, it was a sleeping giant. He has woken the giant up, but it has shown that the giant can be very temperamental if not led by the right person. And even though there were times that this program has won in spite of the leadership, it was always more frustrating than anything to see the failure of the program in the eyes of such a talented roster and team compared to what they were accomplishing, right? I mean, they were habitual underachievers under Les Miles. Habitually.
Yeah.
Underachieving. And, from Orgeron's standpoint, they have really seen the tip top of the mountain.
The peaks and valleys.
But, the sudden fall from that back to the depths that they once experienced, like, days of Troy and Mississippi State, and having, built-in meetings with the athletic director and the offensive coordinator and the head coach, having to watch film. I mean, you say out loud some of the things that have been chaotic with Orgeron outside of Joe Burrow. I mean, it really, really feels like it just has been one thing after another. I mean, it's almost been just every single day, every single game, every single week, some type of BS just crawling around the program. So, I think we've talked about this, and
those are your top three jobs.
Top
Bama,
three
Ohio
jobs.
State,
LSU?
See, I don't even think Bama's on the
jobs.
list if Nick
Really?
Saban's not there, because I mean, I grew up in
Years
a
of
time
winning,
when
though.
that place was nothing. Like Alabama was never really from. I mean, you go back from what 2000 to 2012, 2010,
No,
2008.
09,
Like
08.
they had a 15-year span where they were. You never looked at that game on the schedule if you were an LSU fan and worried about Alabama before Nick Saban got there.
Well, Alabama is very, very much, very similar to LSU in the sense of you got to have the right person. If you got the right person to
They have the same culture.
exploit that culture, be able to manage that brand and deal with all the stuff that comes along with being the Alabama head football coach, then, odds are you're going to be really, really successful. It just takes a very strong personality and somebody to go in there and maintain it. I feel sorry for whoever's next.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. So, I think when you talk about best job, I don't even know if the strength of the job will be able to carry on, who goes in there next, even though, I mean, Saban was only at LSU for 4 years and had that thing running at such a high clip and had recruited so extraordinarily well where, I mean, even a guy like Les Miles couldn't screw it up. For as hard as he tried to do it, for as hard as he tried to ruin it, even he was able to get to the mountaintop with how good Saban had that thing clicking and rolling. So maybe the next guy at Alabama has a bit of success, because I'd imagine that Saban will probably have a lot to do with who's next. But I don't consider Alabama to be a top 3 to 5 job. Does it Texas feel like it should be?
Yeah, Texas should.
I mean, does it Texas feel like it should? A Florida school should be there, whether it would be Miami, the University of Florida,
UF.
Florida State. I mean, Florida State has proven that they can win. I think that Florida's probably a better job than Florida State. Just with facilities, conference, money, backing. They've got a brand. A little bit of history. Obviously the California schools. I mean, USC comes to mind. I mean, just because of their history there. But I think that really right now in college football that it is trending in a direction where you really have a chance to only win in the SEC. I mean, you see the fall off from Clemson. I don't know if Miami will ever be back to where it was. Will USC ever be able to regain the momentum and strength that they once had over the conference? I'm scared to see what an SEC logo next to a Texas Longhorn brand will do for that university. And I've always thought that Texas was easy to bang on, but you didn't want to point and laugh too loud, because if they ever got it right, they could be dominant.
They got a good guy coaching.
You know what I mean? Like, if they ever got the right guy who could get the players, build a culture, and create an environment where it was fun to be at, well, I mean, that feels like that should be, I mean, just with resources, money, budget, everything that goes into it, recruiting ground.
Legacy,
feels
history.
like it. Yeah, LSU has all of that.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Don't you feel like if you're LSU, that's what you're terrified of, is finding yourself in the same category as the Florida State, Miami, USC, Texas, up until it seems like maybe the next few years, where you have people are pointing and looking at LSU going, they have everything that they need. Look at the facility. They just won a national championship 2 years ago. Now they're on the brink of firing their head coach. Like, if you fall into this pit where you're just trying to get out, you can get swallowed up and just become into this tier where it's purgatory. It's impossible to get out of, because there's people at the top of the mountaintop that you're competing against daily, weekly, yearly, whenever you talk about a Georgia, a Florida, an Alabama. These people are coming in right now, and LSU is the fattest pig that needs to get slaughtered, and it's on its side. Like, they're going to come take a nipple, take a bite, do anything they can to poach that thing and make sure it dies.
Yeah.
And it's the perfect time to do it.
No, it is. And for LSU standpoint, it is the most inopportune time for this to happen.
Class.
It never is a good time for this to happen, but specifically for LSU this season with this recruiting class and what you could potentially be with this recruiting class as the cornerstone of a 3-year run is devastating to lose. And Scott Woodward knows that. Scott Woodward understands that the next guy, which is why I believe that he is frantically behind the scenes trying to
frantic.
Not frantic, but he is he's rushed in the sense of trying to get this deal done, because he understands that the day he pulls the trigger on Orgeron, he's got to announce the next guy nearly in 72 hours. I mean, it's got to be a short open window, because whoever steps in has to understand you got to replenish the class of 2022, and you got to get out on the trail. You got to work your ass off to repair these relationships. And you got to show who you are, what you're going to be, and you got to get them sold on the next 3-year run, because potentially, you look back at Saban, Miles, and Orgeron, you want to be standing on that podium in the next 3 years, you better get this class. You better get all of them.
That's the class to do it, man.
You better make sure that you go get Jacoby Matthews. You better make sure you hang on to Walker Howard. You better make sure that Emory Jones is happy. You better go get Shaz Preston. You better wrap up Quincy Wiggins. You better go get all of these cats and put them in this class and make them believe that you're the guy selling the culture for the next 3 to 4 seasons and that they can win a championship. Because to me, if you get the right guy, you can do that. You can do that with this class. For as chaotic as LSU looks and feels and seems right now today, if they get the right guy in place, 3 years from now, you could be right back at the mountaintop if you get all of them. Walker Howard, all of these cats that I know you feel like are very firmly planted to your school right now. But if Orgeron leaves and there's an opening, don't think that some of these messages that they've been kind of flirting with, or at least letting hang on there in the text message spot, or some of the phone calls that they're not deleting completely, the voicemails that they're hanging on to. If things go south, maybe I'll call that coach back at TCU. Maybe I'll call that guy back at Notre Dame. Maybe I'll call Steve Sarkisian back and give him, a 15-minute conversation. You give 15 minutes to a guy like Sarkisian, to a guy like Walker Howard, who's a little open to hearing somebody else's pitch. Well, then the master recruiter clicks in for Sarkisian, and next thing you know, Walker Howard's on an official visit to Austin, and you're wondering whether or not he's still committed.
Because Sarkisian can hop on a whiteboard and show you why you'll succeed at LSU, and I mean why you'll succeed at Texas when it doesn't seem like LSU really has that guy at the top of the totem pole, so to speak. Yeah, X's and O's. But doesn't that make you think that? I mean, obviously this is what happened during the baseball season. Scott Woodward was very silent during all of this. He's obviously working, and that's obviously refreshing.
Yeah.
Because Oliva would be on the podium right now trying to make some statement about himself or his hire or whatever. But you haven't heard a peep out of Woodward. But the recruiting class, doesn't it make you think he'll want somebody in the Southeastern Conference that's also in contact, trying to recruit all of the same guys? You just put on a different polo and sell a pitch.
I don't know if it's a head coach or it's somebody that he understands who's going to be a good recruiter, or maybe it's somebody on staff that he says, look, we want to make sure and maintain and retain this person.
A, B, and C.
Yes, Corey Raymond, Mickey Joseph, somebody like that. Somebody, Kevin Falk, somebody like that. I don't know, whoever it may be. But he definitely has a great understanding of the next guy has to be competent and be able to pull these guys in. Real quick, do me a favor. Make sure you hit the like button, the share button, the dislike button, whatever the interaction that you want to have with us. I see the numbers, and we appreciate you being there this morning. That is great stuff. Thank you for coming on and checking us out. Remember, we're here on YouTube. We're here on Facebook. We are here on the JordyCulottaShow.com. Every single day, 7 to 9 a.m. We've got specialty spots where we come in. Rohan Davey is here on Sunday nights. We do a show where we give reaction. That show last night was bought by Lance Beal, attorney over in Lafayette. We appreciate Lance Beal for supporting what we do here. Beal will be a part of all of our Sunday night broadcasts, so make sure you tune in on Sunday, usually around 8 o'clock. We talk to Keyshawn Butte and we talk to BJ Ojolari every week here. Please give us a like. Dislike it if you want to. Share it, please. Give us a comment. That does great stuff for us. It gives us an opportunity to be in front of more eyeballs, and that's where we want to be. So you being here, you can help us out just a little bit by clicking that like button if you don't mind. Daily, we're brought to you by RMB Builders, rmb-builders.com. Get in touch with Rhett Bourgeois and his crew over at RMB-Builders, where he can set you up today in a custom design home. He can help you out with any handiwork that you need done around the house. If you're in an office today and you need a commercial job done, he's commercially licensed, so he can help you out there as well. Get in touch with my guy, Rhett Bourgeois, rmb-builders.com. That is RM as in man, B as in builders.com, rmb-builders.com. Get in touch with them online, and you can find them there as they do great work. They're going to help us out here at the UDL as we're putting together a new set. They helped us out over at the house after the flood a couple of months ago to get back on our feet. So anything you need done around your house, anything you need done around the office as far as handiwork goes or custom design work, Rhett Bourgeois over at rmb-builders.com, rmb-builders.com is where you can find it. We've had a ton of, obviously, interaction to Coach O and last night, his radio show. It sucks that we hadn't talked about this Kentucky game because, as we said, really and truly, Kentucky, that looks good.
Yeah, nice.
That's great, bro.
Look at that, Lloyd.
That's great.
Every now and then I get something right.
Big game, Lloyd.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Good day to do it.
Right. It absolutely is. As we told you, we think that Kentucky is in a spot, but we hadn't talked about Derek Stingley Jr. The announcement yesterday is surgery on the foot. It's got to make the people out there that thought he was faking feel like assholes, huh? I mean, like,
Let me get a quick surgery to make, make you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah, right. Let me validate my story and just get fake surgery because he's missing time. It shows you that Liz Frank injury that he was dealing with was something serious. And as we said, he was up there in Green Bay dealing with a medical professional that is very well respected in that field and for that specific injury, and saw Stingley earlier this week, and as LSU put out yesterday, officially had surgery and likely going to miss the rest of the season. He'll be out. He will be out indefinitely at LSU, which as we said early on, is the last time that you have seen him play in a purple and gold uniform, and that's sad. It is sad to think that one of the program's most dynamic talents and players came through here and had his career end like it did with injury and just the way that it went down was sad for the player and sad for Derek Stingley Jr., who I know really loves LSU and enjoyed his time here in 2019. He'll go down as one of those characters and figures that you always think about as the backbone of that national championship run. He was only a freshman. He made so many plays. He was probably the best defensive back on that team. And that was a defensive team that featured the Thorpe Award winner in Grant Delpit and a top-round pick in Christian Fulton, who's balling right now in the NFL. I mean, just
K-baby.
balling right now out in Tennessee. So it'll be fun to see Stingley at the next level, but it was sad to see the way that it ended here at LSU.
If you're a GM, no injury concerns, correct? Like you're not. I mean, in my mind, he's still a top 5 pick.
I think that this gives you a little bit more security. First off, the doctor brings a lot of credibility to the surgery. And from the people that I've spoke to that are close to the situation, there's been a lot of contact already with NFL teams saying, hey, look, if you're going to do this, that's the guy that you need to go see. And if he gives you a green flag, if he gives you a green mark, a check mark, we're good with it. We're in great standing if he signs off on you on this injury. And, by all accounts, the doctor said it couldn't have gone any better, the surgery. And really what happened was, as I was having it explained to me, was that the doctor said, look, we can go through a 4 to 6 month or a 4 to 6 week process where he can naturally let it heal on its own. And from the x-rays and the MRIs that the doctor was looking at, he said, that might be the best case scenario. He said, but where this injury occurs is behind a certain bone or a tendon where he can't really see what the damage is. So let's just open him up. And worst case scenario, I gotta perform the surgery, get him right, and he's ready to go. Best case scenario is I open him up, I look in there and see it's not as severe as we think it is, and just close him right back up and let him rehab. And there's a possibility he can get back on the field within a month and a half.
What is it? Just like that small foot bone, like KD, like one of those injuries?
It's the name of it's Liz Frank is the injury, and I think it's like right in the middle of your foot. And the way that he tore it was those defensive back drills, where you backpedal sprint, backpedal sprint. When you're kind of it's where you plant.
Yeah.
A lot of it is the injury is kind of how you plant and how you move off of it.
I've got a picture from a very verified doctor in Mr. Google. Dr. Google, pulling it up. So we'll all know what a Liz Frank is. Yeah, we've done that before.
All right, Rex Ryan.
Hey, that was with his wife. Whatever you're into, man.
Keeps it married together.
Unlike Urban, that was not his wife.
Yes.
Shelly was with the kids.
Herb.
Shelly has some menu items over at the old restaurant, too.
Does she?
Shelly's margarita.
Ah.
That's what he was apparently sipping on.
I was reading an article about it. And
She doesn't mind. Come here.
She doesn't. This is all part of the plan. How many more hours did we pay you for?
Right. Wait, say it again?
I was reading an article about Urban Meyer, and it was like the way they wrote it. They were saying like it was Urban's favorite place in Columbus, and they were just like
his
hyping
restaurant.
Yeah, they're hyping up their return, and it just all made sense.
I'm telling you, dude, this thing's a fix. This is a fix. I have no doubt.
He was
about
crushed.
it.
Tebow got cut. He needed alcohol.
He wants out.
He wants out.
He's sprinting out of there.
LSU is right around the horizon.
Oh.
If that never happens with Urban, I think that still maybe the Coach O from yesterday overshadows the other, transgressions that have happened, and Urban might get a pass here. Would you take Urban Meyer for 3 years?
No,
You can't.
I wouldn't.
With what's going on here, you can't.
I mean, you think LSU is the butt of jokes right now. And I know that Urban's a good coach, and I know that Urban's a better college coach than he is an NFL coach, but where he is right now, LSU can't touch that guy. They can't touch him. I think it's a small gamble, but one that you really don't have to be concerned about in-house, from my opinion, on Lane Kiffin. I think even the people that are pulling for Kiffin up there, and I think there is a contingency up there in Scott Woodward's ear saying that Lane Kiffin could be the right guy for it. I think there is still some apprehension of, he better not screw us.
And he just did the popcorn thing.
Better not. But I think you live with that stuff. That type, you're getting that with Kiffin. You know what I mean? You understand that you're going to get those types of prods and pokes, and even the pregame
Viral moments.
Even the pregame with Jamie Erdahl on CBS on Saturday, before the game, where he threw the headset back, and that's where he said, get your popcorn ready or whatever it was. I think you can live with that stuff with Lane. That's kind of who you're hiring. You can't live with what Lane was doing as an assistant at Alabama. You can't live with what Lane was doing as the head coach at Tennessee or USC. You can't live with that stuff. And I think from at least the people that I have spoke to, and even the data that you have, because like Urban Meyer showed last Saturday night, these guys can go to a truck stop casino, or they can go to their own restaurant in their backyard where they feel so insulated and protected. And if you try to do something stupid, it's going to be on the internet. It's going to be on social media. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to it's not if, it is when. It's going to happen. So I think that Lane understands that he brings a lot of cachet. He brings a ton
of attention to himself.
Attention, yes, when he goes anywhere. And he's over that stuff. He's gotten the return on all of that. Right now, it's just about being a football coach and hammering down that legacy. I don't think that Lane Kiffin wants to be the football coach's son that had a big personality that underachieved. I think Lane Kiffin wants to be Monty Kiffin's son, who was one of the most dominant college football coaches of all time. And I think he's about to set sail on that flight. And I think I would love him to do that at LSU. Because, like I've said on Lane Kiffin, he first off, he evaporates all concerns you have on one side of the ball immediately. Immediately. As soon as he is hired, you are offensively relevant. Tonight, it doesn't matter who your personnel is. Ole Miss last year or LSU next year. They are potent. And then you always have a quarterback. And maybe those should be flipped. Maybe the first thing is you'll always have a quarterback if Lane Kiffin is your coach. Always. Doesn't matter if it's Blake Sims or Matt Corral or Matt Leinart. It doesn't matter. He's coached them all. Heisman trophies, is about to win another one. Corral will be in New York. He'll be a finalist. He gets to LSU, and you give him Max Johnson, Garrett Nussmeier, and Walker Howard walking into that room. How many Heismans can he win? So I think that Kiffin immediately makes you relevant and understands that he's a master on that side of the ball, and he's got to get a defensive coordinator who he can trust and say, hey, man, that's your gig. That's your side of the store. Make us dominant. And you should be able to do that in Louisiana because Mason Smith's right down the bayou. Derek Stingley Jr.'s in Baton Rouge. You can go get Quincy Wiggins in Baton Rouge. Jacoby Matthews is in Ponchatoula. They got 5 stars, All-Americans, Pro Bowlers, Hall of Famers everywhere. Go get them. Coach them up. And keep this thing about football next. Right? Isn't it old for LSU's coach to be a character? A grass eater?
Let's get back to football.
Yes. What a bit. What a soundbite.
Chris Blair.
Poor guy.
Poor guy.
Violin sounds great.
Poor guy.
Just trying his best.
That's the type of radio where, literally, it feels like you're trying to hold a fart in for an hour. You know that uncomfortable feeling.
Throwing up.
You know what I mean? Just
Yes.
uncomfortable, just constantly, just thinking, how
do I get out of this segment?
How I don't know what I mean. This is I don't know
Shit
what's
my
I don't know what's
pants.
around the corner.
I can't stand up.
I can't leave.
I can't move.
Don't ask me anything. I'm uncomfortable. My face is pale. I'm sweating.
And we just got back from break. You got 18 minutes.
And you still got an hour left of this thing. Didn't that happen at 7:30? I know my phone blew up at 7:32.
I know they ended it rather quickly. No more phone calls after that.
It
was a parting goodbye from Chris Blair and the Go Tigers.
It was like the midway point of the show where you still had time on the clock. That is holy shit, get me out of here,
Burn a timeout.
Do we have any more?
Oh,
I think we've burned them all. We left them at LSU. We left them in Tiger Stadium.
Blair, can I borrow one from you?
Chris Blair, when I heard him, like, oh boy, like he's got it, like, oh my God, get me out of here.
You think he went to the bar after that one?
Yes, 2 shots of tequila off the top.
Yeah, I'll slip in my car.
Yeah, he's
TJ Ribs, what's the strongest
I
thing you
need
got?
2 shots of tequila and your fattest joint, please, if you don't mind. Thank you.
It's somebody's birthday, I heard.
Good God. No doubt. One of the text messages. Was that from you?
But,
Happy birthday.
I sent you the audio. It's like, happy birthday. See you in the morning.
Smoking a cigarette. Listen to that. In a robe.
In your sissy blue.
Yeah, right.
Sissy blue robe.
Sissy blue robe. Please hit that like button, please. Like button, dislike button. It's all good. Share it if you don't mind.
Somebody's
Is
mad
it back
in
to the
chat.
foot pick? I just wanted to see where it was.
You think Panamsky was in here this morning? Over 500 people.
Oh, without a doubt.
You think?
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
him and not pulmonary one.
For sure.
I wonder. Yeah.
What else
he
has
has
he
to
gotta
make
do?
he has to make a name. I wonder what he went with. Oh, the man of the hour.
Ah.
Not Panamsky,
I
too.
love the salmon color, buddy. Yeah,
Oh
right.
yeah.
Give us a minute here.
me an hour.
Yeah, get funny here in an hour. Give me about a minute. Shea just walked in. We will talk about the latest. We were just talking recruiting. We'll talk about some of the aftershocks
Implications.
on recruiting here with the best in the business. Shea Dixon in the UDL next here. Remember, Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Check them out at GEAUXChevrolet.com. And, of course, that used car lot is over at Go Express Auto Sales. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Welcome back here to a Thursday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live, driven and powered by Ghost Chevrolet. Watch your cell phone over there by Willie Wade.
He's watching it.
I sent a text message to a recruit. Speaking of recruiting, Shea Dixon, Go247, doing excellent work right now, as you can find him online at Shea Dixon. All right, Shea, let's get into it, buddy. I want you to tell me about how you feel about. I'm just messing with you. I can see Shea tightening up like, oh shit, Culotta's gonna set me up.
Ribs were great.
I'm gonna get the reputation like he's got up there. They're gonna blackball me.
All right, let's get back to football.
Sorry. Yeah.
Back to football.
Come on, man.
How bad you feel for Blair last night?
I thought he did a good job.
He did. That is a tough spot. I told that's like trying to do radio for an hour, trying to hold a fart. I mean, that's what Blair, just uncomfortable.
And
there's no end in
sight. There's no bathroom.
I just can't. I can't do this, man. I don't know how I'm going to hold on for an hour. Recruiting. What's the temperature around LSU? Last weekend, it felt like they had a who's who.
Oh boy, that was the biggest recruiting weekend they've had. Gosh, well, since the Florida game in 2019, so 2 years. You know, you took a year off with COVID in 2020 and not being able to have guys, but boy, that was a good turnout. And look, I talked to a lot of kids, juniors and some of these seniors, but you talk about kids who are juniors in high school right now and are getting to do all this for the first time.
Yeah.
And I mean, them and their parents, kids coming in from Texas, notably like out-of-state kids who had definitely never seen the atmosphere before, were blown away because, I mean, look, they're back to being able to have them on the field before the game. You saw Zach Evans, five-star. Not Zach Evans, Harold Perkins. 5-star linebacker. Zach Evans was not at the game walking around.
I mean, he could have been. I was recruiting last 2 years ago.
They don't need running backs that bad. Harold Perkins was out there, a number of guys. And, you know, you'd get your time where you walk from the sidelines out to the Tiger Eye and talk with Coach O while the team's warming up and all that. So I think it was a hit for him. And what's been interesting, Jordy, is that since this summer, really, when they did a bulk of getting back to recruiting in person with summer camp, and then you got into July when you're sort of feeling out the board, is when they kind of trimmed up on some guys, added a few others, and they've been at 15 commitments since then. So, you know, no matter what you think of how the season's gone, on the field play, whatever it might be, they haven't lost any commitments, haven't gained any commitments, but we're also looking at kind of the recruiting calendar being year-round now has put so much more into the offseason. Kind of when you get into the season, we're not seeing a whole lot of shuffling in the top 10 at all. I mean, it's been the exact same order almost, with maybe one or two teams kind of moving around. So they sit inside the top 10, but it's going to be about how you finish and what it looks like at the end. But the news of the week from the NCAA, I think, was huge for a school like LSU especially, who knows what it's like to have low roster numbers.
How do you manage, because recruiting isn't seen through the same lens as fans are. I think that, you know, that's one thing we always have to, kind of suffice in saying is that, you know, I mean, they don't look at losses as setbacks.
No, well, I always say that too all the time. And they're not sitting around listening to shows and surfing the message boards and, having it tuned into YouTube or FM radio all day. And I say this one all the time too because it's true. These kids lose like every third Friday night. It ain't no big deal.
Like Jacoby Matthews and Ponchatoula, like they were no good, right?
Oh, and there were times in Finley's senior year, I think they won 2 or 3 games.
Right.
So they get that. I think they just want to be part of a winning team and a team that they think can compete for championships. And we've never seen, even Les's final years, we didn't see recruiting fall. They weren't out here signing a not top 10 class or whatever it might be. So as long as you're in Louisiana in the boot, you'll be good. But I do think that it'll be really interesting to see how everyone, but LSU, because that's what we focus on, handles this whole idea of being able to oversign, really, because of transfers.
Yeah, the transfer you mentioned yesterday, NCAA Division I Council approved the waiver to help college football teams with replacing transfers. And obviously the transfer portal has become such a major story in college football. Here is a rule trying to help out schools in replacing those guys where you've got up to 7 scholarships a year that you can replace transfers with.
Right. So, and the clock will start on the last day of your school's fall semester or December 15th, which would be like if your school went past that. December 15th would be the start date, which is the first day of the early signing period. So here's like the Cliff Notes version, and this will be a 1-year waiver. And the NCAA said, look, we're going to try to figure out in the next few months what a permanent solution is. But every year you're capped at signing 25 guys. Okay, so LSU's got 15 guys right now. Well, we've heard, you can just see it by how they've recruited recently. They want to hit the transfer portal. Well, if you've only got 10 spots left, Jordy, and I'm telling you, then you're looking at the product on the field, and you're saying they need O-linemen. Yeah. They need linebackers after these guys who are all veterans are kind of out of here. There's some quick fixes that you need. How do you tell, and ultimately you can't really, but the Shaz Prestons, the Quincy Wiggins, all these guys who are uncommitted in Louisiana, like, hey, we might not have a spot for you because now we're having to use of these 10 spots we have left, a bunch of them on transfers because we need quick fixes. So now I think this ruling is twofold for me. One, it protects the high school athlete, which I think is huge, right? Like, you're not building a program on transfers. And look, Joe Burrow was a transfer. I get it. Like, you can win a lot of games with transfers, but that's not a long-term fix.
Right.
The point is to recruit kids, bring them in, develop them, and get them onto the field over time or whatever it might be. I think that now we're not in that. We're moving out of the age where you were stuck on that 25, and schools were trending more and more to just saying, how many transfers can we fit in?
Yeah.
You know, like I need to win right now.
Baylor basketball.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that isn't the temperature of just LSU. That's everywhere, every coach. I need to win right now. So I'll take a 22-year-old offensive lineman over an 18-year-old one. Like, yeah. Give them to me. So I think we were trending towards, they were about to be signing 15, 18 high school kids a class. Well, that's 7 fewer kids that get a chance to go to LSU. They get a chance to go to Georgia, Clemson, wherever it might be. So I think it protects the high school athlete. And now it just protects, I mean, it was a health concern when LSU got to 50-something scholarship guys and we're out there. I mean, eventually you're playing guys both ways or something. I mean, you remember the Florida game, they won, but they had walk-ons playing everywhere.
That's right.
So you can't do that. And that's what you saw when you have NFL, transfers, all these different things come at once. All of a sudden you've got FIPS injuries, opt-outs. They had like 50-something dudes. Like, you can't do that. So they're going to give them up to 7, and that means, so after that December 15th, or after the last day of your semester, every kid that enters a transfer portal, you get to match them, take one back out. So doesn't have to be at the same position, doesn't have to be the same age kid, you don't have to take him right away, but you don't have to wait beyond signing day anymore and say, hey, look, we got to tell these high school kids we like no, because we just might need 3 or 4 spots in the spring to see where things are at. So I know just from talking to coaches, not just at LSU, but all over, they knew this one was coming, right, over the past few weeks. Dellinger had reported about it a couple of weeks back, but them making it final allows them to move forward now feeling a lot better of, hey, okay, we can really go balls to the wall for these high school kids, the Shaz Prep, everybody that we want, and these out-of-state kids, because we know we're going to have those spots for 7 guys. But it doesn't, people were asking me this, nothing matters yet until after that into the fall semester. So yes, LSU's had a bunch of guys transfer, but they're not going to be able to make those up.
So it does. The clock doesn't start until
whatever the
spring.
last day of the semester is.
Walker Howard, big news last week, was injured versus Ruston.
Yeah.
Broken fibula.
Broke his left fibula per his father. His dad went and said that.
Yeah.
And but now, and that was when he was going to go up to Notre Dame and then make it back to LSU. And that was Friday night. He got injured in that Ruston game. They get it checked out on Saturday morning, and lo and behold, I was looking around the sidelines for the kickoff on Saturday night, and there's crutches and leg boot on, but Walker Howard just chilling, made his way over, hanging out. So you see what his buy-in is.
Too much fun to have.
Yeah,
too much fun to be had.
But narcos in my pocket.
Yeah, his dad told the Daily Advertiser over in Lafayette that, look, he's trying to rehab and get back this year. Yeah. And I don't know if he will. And as a senior, you hate to get injured and that be it for you. So we'll see what STM does if they get into the playoffs or if he comes back. But regardless, he'll be here for January. Ready to roll. Early enrollee is what you need from your quarterback.
Big news yesterday was Major Burns is going to be out this week at the safety position, which I think a lot of the LSU fan base started to think first that you'll see Sage Ryan for an initial time. Sage Ryan, of course, 5-star safety in last year's cycle, was a big win for LSU late in the process. Do you expect to see him this week?
Trev. Holding on. Took
Trev
out the jersey. That was
right.
game worn.
Came
Is
up.
that hanging up in here?
What?
You need to add that.
The Trev Falk?
The game worn Trev Falk that he wore to the ceremony when
with
he
the faded 7?
Blood still on it. You need that one in here somewhere.
Fire.
So the expectations are that Sage is going to play this weekend. And they started working him back, was that Mississippi State week, and certainly into Auburn, so last week as well. So I've kind of been told that he's had a couple of good weeks of practice under him. Obviously, he missed all of fall camp with an injury. Then he was in this no-contact jersey. He wasn't even dressing out on game day, so you knew that he was kind of really banged up. But now it sounds like his feet are under him, feels good. We saw him. He was at practice this week, running around, in the media portion that we got to see. But, yeah, I would expect that he's going to play. I don't know if he's going to start, but not like just on special teams. Like, they want him to be out there in the secondary this weekend, and you'll see what it brings. But I'm interested to see, because beyond Jay Ward, Major had started all 5 games. I mean, so is it Cam Lewis, or is it Todd Harris or Jordan Tolles, or does a guy like Sage step into that role?
What do you think of this weekend's game? I think that Kentucky feels pretty vulnerable.
I was listening to y'all on the way over, and I mean, right? And then you look at, Lloyd, are you over there? What is the schedule? I think they beat Chattanooga by like 3 points.
It's a close one.
They
beat Missouri by a handful of points in week 1. Florida, I think they only threw for like 80 yards on them, but won, and O had said this last night on the show, which I didn't realize, and he kind of said it and laughed. He was like, look, he talks about turnover differential so much. He said, kudos to them. They're undefeated, and they're -9.
No, wow.
+2.
They're just giving you the ball nonstop. So Will Levis turned it all over a bunch throwing it. They don't force a ton of turnovers. But to double back to what I was kind of listening to what I felt like y'all's mood was coming over here was that, this is a chance for LSU to go up there and grab a dub. Like, they might be better than they should be better than Kentucky, but they
Kentucky
might also be able to just beat them. Kentucky doesn't look all that great if you're actually looking at the schedule.
Yeah, I'm going through the schedule right now. Impressive win over Missouri, 35-28. Chattanooga.
That's a touchdown.
5, right?
28-23.
Okay, so less than a touchdown against Chattanooga.
Kentucky, South Carolina, 16-10.
South Carolina's terrible.
They are terrible. They're terrible.
I mean, I'm sure Chattanooga is fighting as hard as they can, but I doubt they're very good. And that's at 5 points. And then the hang your hat on win is Florida. And
What was the score of that game?
20-13. It was just a
On the last
muck
play.
it up game.
Wow.
And so
I'm telling you.
LSU,
And Florida just didn't play well. And,
Yeah, right. I mean, they were hungover. They were kind of similar to where Kentucky is now. They played that Alabama game. They played them toe to toe.
it's the
and
it's the LSU Alabama when they have to go play Arkansas the next week. It's like, how could they even play? They're so
Right.
beat up, and I'm sure Florida was in that same mold where it's like, good Christ, man, I don't think we can play in a week.
I also think, too, I think one thing that kind of stood out to me across the SEC and Power 5 games, I guess you could say they've played UCLA. LSU hasn't scored more than 28 points in a game yet, and they've had some defensive help there. So I'd be curious if they don't get above that this weekend, in large part, too, because after the game and on Monday, you could tell O was pissed that they weren't running tempo, and that the check with me stuff was still going. I would have no way they're coming out doing check with me this weekend.
No way.
There ain't no way. Or
No
O
way.
would just cut it off right there and say, we're not, Max, don't look over here anymore. Just go.
Tell Jake Peets I'm going to take him fishing. I'm taking Jake Peets fishing next weekend.
Drop a curtain from the booth.
There is no way they're going to be out there not showing
no
some
way.
tempo.
There's no
and
way.
when they've run tempo, they've been
look good.
Yes.
So I think they're going to put up some points
That's
this
the
weekend.
maddening part. That's what I was saying earlier. It's like the stuffs that they do good, they shy away from. The players that are playing the best, they don't play. It's crazy to see it. Speaking of best players, Keishawn Butte was not at practice.
It doesn't sound like that's
early.
anything
I think he's good.
Bubble wrap that boy until
Yeah, I
every
mean-
Saturday then.
I mean, you lose one, and the melt is just
Well, you can see
volcanic.
You can see the public reaction just by him not being out there. And it's like, what did he?
Yeah, right.
With everything, all the smoke
Yeah.
around LSU and the opt-outs, they're like, is he opting out? It's like, I doubt it, but Jesus, if that happens, I mean, throw it,
I mean,
pull
he's
the
still,
pin.
he's still got a year and a half to play.
Right.
I'll say this, though, too. There have been – last season went off the rails, right? Even after that UCLA game, the players – all of them said, look, this team's tight. That ain't going to happen. They haven't had any opt-outs. They hadn't had any guys on Twitter running and – I mean, Butte's been great after every game with just shooting it straight. Max does the same.
Yeah.
I mean, they're right about that. The guys haven't turned on each other.
No, that is true. That is
So
true.
we'll see. I'm telling you, I think they go up there and get a win this weekend.
I'm with you. I think that Kentucky
and Durante Jones has had
Yes.
the Mississippi State defensive
He's got to be
game
looking at
plan was
Kentucky's
great.
offense saying, we should almost dominate this crew this weekend. If you're Durante Jones looking at Levis, I mean, just he's he's so liberal with the ball. You know what I mean?
turns it over all the time.
I mean, just with LSU, you get it. You could probably score a couple this weekend on defense.
Don't you roll with the same game plan you did against Auburn? It's essentially the same plan where they want to run the football and kind of manage the clock, and hopefully Bo Nix doesn't make a mistake.
Well,
and then it turned into the Bo Nix show.
And that's what I'm saying about, like, you look at Durante Jones, and let's just look at
He's game planned well every week.
Right. He's got that in Mississippi State, perfect game plan.
That's what you have to do.
Everyone here screamed last year, "Why are you playing man? Why are you playing man?" He dropped all 8. They kept it in front. They played great. The whole talk last week was Tank Bigsby.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything.
Nothing.
Stop the run game.
Nothing.
The whole talk was, how do you stop Tank Bigsby? They did it. And certainly, I don't know how many. I think Durante Jones keeps the buzz cut, but if he had anything, he'd be ripping it out because his guys were there to make plays all weekend. I mean, you heard BJ say it on your show. I'm beating myself up because I was right there 3 or 4 times. He slipped right out of my hands.
They were touching him.
Some of your best players are right there in position to make plays and just kind of went sideways on him.
Nix.
So, boy, it was slippery.
Bo Nix.
Greased up.
I bet he was greased up all night.
Best game of his life.
Best game he'll ever play.
Best game he'll ever play.
Well, the other one would probably be beating LSU last year, like in the Finley Knicks game. It was like 45-0 or whatever it was.
Get him out of here.
What do you make of this conference right now?
All over the place,
yeah,
right?
It is, right? I mean, outside of Alabama,
Georgia and Bama look good. After that, I don't know. Arkansas or Ole Miss is going to be a good game this weekend. I don't think anybody's cared about it because both of them lost in bad fashion the week before. So it's kind of like, well, whatever.
Right.
That'll be a good game this weekend. I think those are 2 good teams.
What's coming up on the site?
Recruiting updates, obviously. We're getting into about that midway point of the season, too, where evals are kind of really in full swing. So we may see some new offers. I think a lot of people are eager to see if they get some O-linemen from the high school side, more than they have now into the mix. I think they already have 4 commits in the O-line. But I do think that Kentucky's actually set to have their biggest recruiting weekend in like 2 years this weekend. They're coming off a big Florida thing, and they try to double down now, like, hey, everybody get back.
6:30 at night. They got some new Chrome
sold
helmets.
Out.
Yeah, sold out.
Yeah.
Kroger Field, baby.
I think the horse track opens this weekend, too.
Oh, that's right.
So
that's right.
It's a big thing.
Wow.
But
all the degenerates.
Yes.
Damn one, baby.
We'll find out what this means over the next week. I'll start to talk to more kids and see what their plans are. But Florida was going to be a massive official visit weekend and visit weekend for LSU, and then it gets released that it's at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, how much does that change things in terms of travel plans and all those different things? So we'll figure out next week kind of what the visitor list will look like for Florida.
Any update on Quincy? You know, we always are on Quincy watch here. I mean, how's it going for him?
And y'all are big Shaz Preston stands too.
Huge Shaz.
Huge Shaz fans.
Yes.
Nothing new on Quincy. He was at the game last weekend, so he's around. You know, I think Jeff Jones, his mom, all of them were all at the game. So the more you keep the Madison Prep contingent around, I think the better your chances are for him.
Absolutely. Shea Dixon, Go247 is the site. Find him on Twitter at Shea Dixon, always keeping up with the latest in recruiting. He's also very vocal on game days as well over there on his site. So check him out at Go247.
How much do you keep up with these recruits on Instagram? Do you have to follow all of them? Because of the stories that they put out. Harold Perkins
Instagram story.
put one out yesterday. It's like, sorry about somebody, like, you know, they do Ask Me Anything.
Right. And he was like, no, that's home.
Yeah, they're like, sorry about LSU Aubrey. He's like, no, that's home. And they posted
I mean, that
LSU.
stuff can be telling sometimes, certainly.
Not Quincy.
This is just kind of where things are going, I guess. I try not to read into it too much, but if you kind of look back in retrospect, I bet you would see some things like, I'll notice that, you know, there'll be that one uncommitted kid who's engaging in every, post that every LSU commit makes about LSU, and then you're like, oh, that I should have known. He was, but then he's probably doing that with everybody. So I don't know. I try not to do it too much. The only time I want to really care what a recruit's tweeting about is when I know he's about to like commit or drop a top couple teams, throw him on notifications real quick.
So you're not playing Sherlock over there.
You got to get them off notifications after that. You don't want to be around for the congrats,
the meltdown.
Retweets.
Yeah.
You don't want to be there
following this kid.
Yeah.
How much do they hit you up? Like, how much do recruits hit you up about that stuff that they've done? Like, kind of trying to like notify you.
That'd be more like a commitment thing. And I mean, like for guys who are committed, of like, hey, I'll be at the game this weekend or whatever. Because once you commit, your contact falls off a lot with all these other coaches, so you're kind of back to, all right, I got time to talk to Shea. But when you're uncommitted and Nick and Ed and Lane and everyone's calling you nonstop, take a minute to get back to Shea D.
Get in touch with Shea D over at Go247. Remember, Falaya Real Estate is helping you out. The way that they sell and buy homes has changed the way that we do that here in Louisiana. Find out for yourself online at falaya.com. You get exposure on MLS, Zillow, Realtor.com, virtual tours all over the place at Falaya. Falaya Real Estate is changing the game. Download the app today inside of your Apple or Android stores. Falaya.com. Shea Dixon talking some recruiting. We will wrap it up next. Talk to Makin Money as she will give us a couple of winners to look out for here on the NFL weekend coming up next from Barstool Sports. Makin Money to close out this Wednesday. Make sure you hit that like button. Thank you so much for you all being out there this morning. Before you get out of here, make sure you click that thumb up or even at that thumb down. Just the interaction helps us out, please. Before you move on, thank you, and we'll be back with Makin Money here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Hebert's Specialty Meats, home to the finest boudin in South Louisiana. 2 spots right here in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center on Highway 73 or right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Online, hebertsmarkets.com, and they're all over social media. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Hebert's combines perfect seasoning with that authentic Cajun flavor. Find out for yourself. Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway and in Prairieville on Highway 73. hebertsmarkets.com. Go Flow IV and Spa, 7970 Jefferson Highway is where you can find them, or you can simply go online to goflowiv.com. Go Flow IV Spa is a medical spa that specializes in IV hydration with vitamin infusion. At Go Flow IV Spa, they can help you with a wide range of issues, from skin care to illness recovery, athletic performance, hangover cure, chronic illness, and even chronic dehydration. GoFlowIV.com or stop in and see them, 7970 Jefferson Highway. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in LaPlace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. True Blue Water, true hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU bluewater.com. All right, good day here inside of the UDL. Thanks for interacting with us. Good stuff from Shea Dixon. Remember, all that stuff brought back to you by RMB Builders, rmb-builders.com. Get in touch with them over there. Go Chevrolet, always driving and powering us here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Make sure that you like, share, comment on this post. We appreciate that very much. Makin Money is back with us. Talk a little bit more NFL this week as she's getting ready for a Thursday night tilt. Good Thursday night football action for you here, actually, in the NFL. As tonight you've got Seattle and the Rams. That'll be a 6:20 kickoff for you from Seattle, where Seattle is the home dog there. That jumps out, bro, in front of the 12. Seattle. We'll ask Megan Makin Money how she feels about it. Meg, sorry we missed you last week at the tailgate. Know you were in Baton Rouge down here, and everybody was talking about how they had run into you. We were a little late to your tailgate where you were, just a couple of minutes. Seems like we just missed y'all. How was your experience in Tiger Stadium?
It was absolutely wonderful, and obviously, shout out to Walk-Ons. Their tailgate was an absolute blast. Before, definitely was a blast. After, it wasn't as much fun because, we obviously lost. But they had a cool girl that was like 13, who's a DJ, who's just like supposedly killing the game. I haven't seen her yet, but that was my first time ever hearing about her. But yeah, she's got like 1 million followers on TikTok and like 300,000 on Instagram. Her name's DJ Liv. She was super awesome. Had a great time until the fourth quarter.
Yes, the fourth quarter did suck. Meg, you got to feel the love now, huh? I mean, we were just talking about your rise to fame, and you can almost see it on social media how you go from like 150 likes on a post to like 10,000 likes on a post, now 25,000 likes on posts. You got to feel that when you step out into the public, like last week in Tiger Stadium, how it was packed. I mean, do you get a lot of reaction by just being and bouncing around?
It always depends. I still, all this still feels like I'm like in a simulation or something. It does not feel actually real. But there's people that'll catch me and notice me, and some people ask for pictures. Other people just like DM me and be like, "Hey, I saw you and didn't want to bother you," but I always encourage people to come up and say hello because, I think I'm a pretty friendly person. And, I've always, whenever I see people out that I always want to talk to, I'm always nervous and, I would like to approach them. So I would like for people to be able to do the same and not be scared. I'm not anybody. So,
make these people money, for God's sakes, Megan. Who do we like tonight?
All right, so I know both of y'all kind of went, woo, with the home dog jumping out. And usually I'm all over a home dog, especially when it's Russell Wilson. I love Russell Wilson. Last week I took them on the money line. That was my little hoodie bet where I, every week I give y'all a money line, win or lose in the Barstool Sportsbook, you get a hoodie. I've hit, knock on wood, 4. I've hit them all in this regular season. And that was last week. This week, though, I'm taking the Rams minus 2.5. The Seahawks won last week, but I got lucky. Why? Because they got outgained by more than 200 yards.
Damn.
You're not usually winning football games when you get outgained by 200 yards, right? Not to mention that, if we want to bring up a narrative, Stafford got his ass handed to him last week, and I don't think he likes that very much. I think that this Rams team come out mad. I think this line personally is a little soft. You got Russell Wilson, I know you got Metcalf, you got some playmakers. However, you just have a Rams team that got beaten up by the Cardinals. I think that they go in mad. I think, Russell Wilson's not going to be able to keep up with Stafford in this game. I like the Rams minus the 2.5 tonight.
Take the points. Meg's got them going into the 12 and winning minus the 2.5 going into that tilt for the NFC West. All right, where are we heading next?
We're heading to the good old Hoodats. I like the Saints against the Washington football team this week. I feel like Jameis quite literally is a 50-50 quarterback. I've been betting on him like bi-weekly. If he has a good game one week, you fade him the next week. Then the next week you bet on him. You know what happened last week? Bad game. We lose to the Giants. I think that they're able to go up there and pull off this win. It's 1.5. I think it could be a 3-point win, maybe even a touchdown. But this Washington football team defense has not played as advertised. Chase Young has not been nearly as explosive as advertised. And look, the Saints D has kept them in a lot of these games. And I know Taylor Heineke has been kind of magical and been pulling off some great, throws lately. But I like the Saints here in this spot. As I said, bad week for Jameis last week, and the Saints this week should be a good one.
What's the Barstool Sportsbook have this number at?
1.5 is what I took it at. I believe it's still there this morning. So you can get the money line, I think, at like minus 138 or something. Nothing too bad. Saints and
1.5 there for the second play. Where to next?
Next, we are headed to the Panthers at home, minus the 4. I'm still not sold on this Eagles team or Jalen Hurts. Sure, they played a great Kansas City team, but that defense has not been good. It's been almost atrocious. And so I'm not sure whether the Eagles actually looked good last week, or maybe it was just the Chiefs defense that was just that bad, maybe a little suspect. I don't know. Meanwhile, the Panthers got to hold their first L last week against an extremely solid and complete Cowboys team, but that was their first real test. Look, I like Darnold to bounce back here against the Eagles. I still am not sold on Hurts. I like the Panthers -4 at home.
Carolina -4 heading back to their home after last week losing in Dallas. What else we got?
All right, this next one I don't love, but I'm taking a little risk here, and this will be my money line hoodie promo bet of the week. As I said, I've hit 4. I'm going for number 5 here. Really hoping to pull this one off, but it's a little scary. Going Browns money line at the Chargers. I feel like the Chargers are kind of sitting fat and happy. They just beat a big bad Chiefs team. They had a semi-dominant win over the Raiders. Now they're back comfortable at home. I think they might get caught on their heels here. Not to mention Baker Mayfield. As soon as people start talking that shit about him, you know what happens? He turns it around and has a massive game. I know y'all probably seen that Baker Mayfield cycle, meme that has gone around. I like the Browns money line here. I think you get it at like +120 right now. It's changed a bit. I had a +117. I had +102 yesterday, +117 today. So if you want to go ahead and get that in at the Barstool Sportsbook, win or lose, you get that Barstool Sportsbook hoodie. And I just think Browns are going to control the clock here between Chubb and Hunt. I think we get this win.
Beautiful. Megan making money from Barstool Sports. Make sure and hit her on Twitter at Megan making money. Any other plays this weekend?
I have 2 6-point teasers, and I'm going to tease the Bucks and the Bills, and I'm also going to tease the Pats and the Cowboys. I'm a big Mac Jones fan these days. He seems like he really he was very poised in that game last week, and look, they should have won. I think the Pats come back out here, and I think between Belichick and Saban, this kid has like ice in his veins with no emotion, and I don't think a loss to Tom Brady's going to do anything to him. So, 6-point teaser, Bills and Bucks and Pats and Cowboys. Those are my other 2.
Megan making money. How? What type of content this weekend can our listeners catch up with?
Well, of course, I'll be putting all of my picks out. I got NFL out right now. College football will be coming out shortly. Today we have a money shot. Me and Kelly in Vegas. She's been absolutely killing college football, hitting 2 massive 3-leg underdog parlays. Not last weekend, but this last weekend and the weekend before that. Absolutely killing it. So her and I have a show today live, and that's at 1 Central, 2 Eastern. And then we also have that Friday, but Friday Kelly won't be there. I will have Mr. Brandon Walker of Mississippi State and of Barstool. I want to say Ole Miss, would have killed me. And then on Monday, back again with Kelly to recap the weekend and give out a Monday night pick.
Introduce him as an Ole Miss alum. That'll be great. Thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Let's win some money this weekend.
Yes, why not? There you go. Megan making money checking in this morning from Barstool Sports, and she's with us every Thursday
Surprised
here.
she didn't want to hop on the Titans to go against Jacksonville.
She didn't bring up the game of the week. Jets-Falcons. That's primetime football, 9 a.m. in London.
He's a Jets fan, too.
Good
right. Hey, they won.
Lord.
They won.
Jets and Falcons. That almost sounds like a form of punishment to have to watch.
They did. They're giving it to England.
Yeah, they're trying to get a pro team over there, and you send the Jets and the Falcons over there.
Didn't they want to send them the Jags? I thought that the Jags. I thought the Jags was like that deal was as good as done.
Oh, really?
Like that they were going to become like the London
Shad
Jaguars.
Khan stepped in and said, "Nay, sir, we are in Jacksonville," and he built this whole thing around Urban Meyer. They're like building an estate.
Yes.
Like it's going to be a lot like Wrigleyville. Is apparently what the plan was for the Jacksonville football stadium. To where you like
the move of sports stadiums now.
Yeah, you almost like have to go. You know, if you're going to enjoy anything, that's what they wanted to do. But it seems like Urban has put quite his wrench in that plan.
No way you can get an NFL team in London. That's cruel.
I mean, how?
They're obsessed with going global.
How? I mean,
you have to send them over there. It doesn't work.
Could you imagine Urban the West End? Just, I mean,
we'd have a throw back a pint.
Just coming into chompers.
That's kosher over there, though. Yeah. That's the move. You have a full English for breakfast.
Are we waiting on Urban to be fired?
LSU?
No. No, I'm just talking about. I'm just talking about in general.
The heart.
Do you think he makes it through the year? They asked us yesterday. Who lasts longer? Let's see what the poll said.
Did you see the Trevor Lawrence? Let's grind today.
Yeah.
Did you see that? It was his 22nd birthday. He broke it down because of the Vegas shot he took at him on his 21st birthday.
No doubt about it.
Or the bachelor party. And so he's like, you would talk about grinding. Let's break it down. Grind on 3. And then they're all laughing at him.
Yeah.
The entire team is dying laughing. And Herb's not even there. Not even around.
It's not my responsibility to get these guys ready to play, is what he said.
No, it's the leaders.
It's the leaders. What do you want me to do? I mean, I'm the head coach. I mean, what do you want me to do? Get them ready to play?
I mean,
Is he going to go down as the biggest failure as a head coach?
It is definitely gonna tarnish his legacy for sure. I mean, it does make him look like a fool. Just an idiot. All right, thank you for today. Good stuff today. Come back with us tomorrow morning as we will be here 7 to 9 a.m. Typical spot. Make sure that you like, share, comment on the post before you get out of here. We very much appreciate that interaction. Yes, please subscribe if you have already not done so. Here at the Jordy Culotta Show page. Have a great Thursday. We're back with you tomorrow here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
Let's get back to football. Let's get back to football.